Hi, everyone. I am truly so excited to be here tonight with Lauren Chiarello Mika. And I am just so excited to introduce you to her. I have gotten to know Lauren for several years now, and she's been one of the biggest sources of encouragement to me over the past couple of years. And if you know her in real life, I'm sure she has been an encouragement to you. And in fact, there was something that she shared with me. We worked together in Beautycounter, and I was sharing some things with her, and she said, Whitney, I think you need to read this book, Joyful. And the name is Joyful, and it says the surprising power of ordinary things to create extraordinary happiness. It's by Ingrid Patel Lee. And I read the book. It has been so transformative in how I experience the world. And as I was talking with Lauren, I said, why don't we come together and talk about joy and talk about Beautycounter and talk about experiences that you've been able to have through this work. And so I'm so excited for you guys to meet Lauren. I'm going to just ask her a few questions. And if you're listening in, maybe you've got some questions for Lauren, feel free to type them in the chat or anything that comes up along the way, and we'll definitely address it at the end. So Lauren, I'm so glad you're here. I'd love for you to just share a little bit about yourself so everyone else can get to know you as well.
Yes, well, mutual adoration here, Whitney. It's like a little love fest, and I'm just so grateful to come together to chat tonight. And thank you everyone for joining, if you're here live and also listening to the recording. So I am originally from New York. I grew up about an hour north of New York City, and I just honestly have always led a life of like service and giving back. And in a way, I feel like Beautycounter has really served such a beautiful avenue to continue that work. Went to college, Villanova University, moved to New York City, was there for 13 years. And then I live now about an hour north, but now I'm in Connecticut, right on the border with my husband. And I have twin boys who are 2.5. And my background's in fundraising and event planning, and I'm now a fitness professional as well. So I started my business about 7 years ago, and I joined Beautycounter about 2 years ago. And I'd been a fan for a long time of the products, and through actually a friend from college, and it always felt aligned. I was like, oh my goodness, this would be such a good fit with my fitness work and just educating folks. I'm also a 2-time cancer survivor. I went through Hodgkin's lymphoma twice in my 20s. And honestly, it wasn't until my friend Colleen, we teamed up for an event in New York. I taught a little bar class. She brought some Beautycounter products. I had no idea that the industry was so unregulated. And I had felt like, gosh, I went through this health challenge and life hurdle, and I did not know about this. And I feel like I'm a pretty well-educated human. I live in a big city, and I just had no idea. And so I feel like the seed was planted back then. I waited like 5 years to join. I'm kind of an all-in person, and I'll speak to that later, because like I always, hindsight's 2020. I so wish that I had just jumped on in back then. But that's a little bit about me now. I mean, I moved out of New York City right before the boys were born and right before the pandemic. So that's really kind of what led me to Beautycounter.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome. And, when we were talking, you kind of addressed some of it, like what first, attracted you to Beautycounter.
Yeah.
And I think you specifically, I mean, everyone who's listening is going to have a different kind of story or maybe alignment with Beautycounter that stands out to them. Like, I know I fell in love with some of the products, you of course have your history of overcoming cancer twice. Now you've got your 2 boys. Like, tell us a little bit about what made you at that 2 years ago, go ahead and say, yes, this is something you wanted to be a part of.
Absolutely. No, it's such a good question, because I think, oftentimes we can just kind of like sit on the sidelines and overthink things. And I think that is a big lesson for me in the last handful of years. I'm like, don't think, just do, and then we'll circle back, in certain situations anyway. But with Beautycounter, I have to say I was feeling very isolated in the pandemic, and honestly, in just north of New York City, the pandemic is still really real and present here, and life is changed and really shifted as we know it. And my boys were 7 months at the time. And I honestly was craving community. I was craving connection. And I was very excited about educating people. Again, I felt like I could use my voice as a 2-time cancer survivor to share more and really lead with education. And then also, I'm kind of a person that does not like to pay full price to anything. I'm sort of like the big deal hunter. And when I realized I could save 25% of my personal orders, I was like, okay, let me give this a go. It's simply having my own website, getting the discount for my personal use, and then, hopefully sharing with others in a meaningful way and leading with education to just share more about, what ingredients might be harmful to health, and then offering that service to them. I mean, our products are amazing. Most of you probably know this already if you're on here and listening. And so they sort of like sell themselves in a way. And so it's just a matter of like introducing folks to them. And it's just honestly been such like a natural progression. When I joined, I didn't even realize that there was this whole larger magical team. Like, did not know that there was a Whitney Ray coming into my life with such incredible leadership and sunshine and joy. And so with that, these last 2 years just really honestly surprised me in that way.
I think that's so cool. And I think, I didn't know there was going to be a Lauren in my life sharing all these wonderful things about joy. But I think, so, you talked about you joined for the discount. You wanted to share education because it was near and dear to your heart. But let's talk about it because we've kind of hit on this joy part and how you really want to serve your clients. What has it been like for you? What have you kind of been surprised by and how it's opened up an avenue to probably just be more Lauren out in the world? But what does that joy piece look like for you in Beautycounter?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the definition of joy is simply a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So, I found this awesome article that, I love to read from Buddhist tradition, all sorts of traditions, but the Dalai Lama has 8 pillars of joy. And I just wanted to share 2 of them because I feel like they've really been integral in how I've woven joy and Beautycounter and sort of just showing up in the world. Yeah, like you said, as Lauren, as my whole self. And one is gratitude. This is something I talk a lot about, both personally and professionally, but every moment is a present that we will just never get again, right? It's like in itself is a gift, and it signifies embracing reality, embracing the positive side of every moment, joy and hardship that the university throws at us. I think what's can be hard sometimes is when we are faced with life challenges, it could be easy to just honestly like pull up the covers and like not want to even face anything. For me, with my experience with cancer, I really went the other direction. I went through cancer 23, 24, 25 years old, and I just honestly wanted to find someone else who went through something similar. And I've given back in that way through the hospital that I was treated at. And in a way, I just feel like that piece of gratitude is so instilled, and that mindset of abundance, and that like it's not to say that there aren't difficult things happening in the world. There sure are, and there's no denying it. But I think when we can find small practices like gratitude and mindfulness, and that could be as simple as literally just like feeling the warm cup of coffee in your hand, like feeling the sunshine in your face when you're outside, like integrating it into your daily moments. And that's really what I do with Beautycounter. Honestly, I'm a huge snail mail lover. I just love sending mail. It's like my great aunt was my pen pal growing up, and it has just stayed with me. And I love sending sunshine mail to give spirit boosts to people who are going through hard times. And so Beautycounter has allowed me to do that. I'll put a little tea bag in there. I'll maybe put an Albright sea serum sample in there. I'll put a Buddha Doodles card that has a little inspiration note. I'll write like a heartfelt, thoughtful note to them. So I think infusing gratitude into our daily lives is so important. And then it's been so cool to like my love for snail mail and like being able to send people some Beautycounter along with it. And hey, maybe they fall in love, but maybe they, tried and seeds planted, you never know. And then the other pillar of joy that I just wanted to mention is generosity. And so it kind of goes along with like what I was just sharing now. But, being able to offer people the information that we know that there are harmful ingredients sitting on our shelves. Like there hasn't been a major piece of federal legislation passed since 1938. I had the honor and gift to travel to DC. I won a spot to represent the state of Connecticut back in April. So I traveled with, there's actually 200 Beautycounter consultants. Usually it's 100, but with the trip getting canceled in 2020, this was our first time back in a handful of years. And it was just so powerful. We met with members of Congress and the Senate. So Beautycounter is really trying to change the law as a whole. And so we know that there are pieces of legislation like ready to be pushed through. So it's just a matter of using our voice more and showing up. And that's what we really are doing as advocates. So when you join Beautycounter, you're like like our founder and CEO Greg Renfrew says, like, we can't do it alone, and that's why we're coming together to use our collective voices to really make change. So it's an exciting time to be a part of Beautycounter as well. I mean, we just had a big investment from a firm last year valuing Beautycounter at $1 billion. That's billion, which is sort of mind blowing, honestly. So it's a really cool time, an exciting time to be a part of Beautycounter. So like, joy all around. I could talk about it forever, but I mean, we'll move on.
Oh, I think it's so great though, because you're sharing this like gratitude, generosity, you're talking from your heart. And I'm not sure where people are who are listening into this, but I think I'm going to speak from my experience. When I looked at Beautycounter, when I first was introduced to it, I thought, gosh, I love the mission. I'm loving, this face oil that I'm trying out, but I don't like sales. Like I had in my mind that sales was that icky thing that people did to somebody. And I think what you're sharing is like the total opposite. Like, do any thoughts come to mind as I share that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally understand and relate to that. I mean, I will say my background's in fundraising. So there is that piece of sort of like, sales in a way, right? You're like encouraging someone to support a mission. So I do feel like some of that skill set was helpful for me and is helpful for me, reaching out and following up and having those conversations. But I'd say the biggest piece is listening. That's really all we're doing. We're asking questions and listening. You want to meet people where they're at. So it's really just, again, sharing about what you're excited about. Winnie, you shared this phrase of sales is just a transfer of enthusiasm. And like, I mean, you feel it's just like with anything, right? If you have a friend that baked this like super tasty banana bread recipe or something, and she's like jazzed about it and just like gushing, and maybe she shared a piece with you, you just kind of want to know about it. Maybe she sends you the link. It's similar spirit to that. And so, I encourage folks, it's just like we share anything that we're excited about, whether it be, makeup and skincare or clothing or a new TV show or whatever it is. So it's really honestly a similar spirit to that. And I think like your energy of how you come into the conversation and how you weave it in is really, what it's all about and how you can meet people where they're at.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so if someone is listening in and they're like, this sounds beautiful, they're probably having their own story, but maybe they're a little bit interested.
Yeah.
And you chose Beautycounter as one of the vehicles and one of the things that you're sharing about, because you've got so many beautiful things you're doing in life. But if someone's listening in and is like, okay, I think I'd like to know more about what taking the next step as a consultant looks like, what would it look like, Lauren?
Sure. So it's very simple. It would probably take about 2 minutes online, but you would go to our website, you would click join. Maybe you'll join with me if you're tuning in with me. And you see everything right there. You have an option to purchase a starter set if you want. I mean, it's sort of lovely to have amazing products at a deeper discount. They offer that when you're joining. They offer samples as well, which is awesome. So it's super simple. And again, that's kind of like take it or leave it. You don't have to. And the only commitment is buying or selling $750 over 6 months. And if somehow you don't meet that, you go back to being, well, if you're a Band of Beauty member, that's our perks program. You just go back to being a member. Or if you weren't before, you join as a consultant. It's $50 to join. If you're a Band of Beauty member, it's $21. And then again, you're saving 25% on all your orders. Maybe you're sharing with a couple of friends and family, and you can choose to share however you want. I tell this people all the time, however you want and how much you want. Like, it's truly in your hands. So if you literally want to send a couple emails a week, maybe you're sending a couple text message, maybe you're meeting someone for coffee, maybe you're bringing samples to the pool with, your family. And that's a great way to, our sunscreen's amazing. So there's just ways for it to be very simple and woven into your daily life. It doesn't honestly have to be this whole big thing. And you choose how much time and energy and effort that you'd like to put in. And again, it's sort of like $750 over 6 months of your own purchases and then your sales. It kind of feels like a no-brainer in my opinion, but I may be a little biased at this point.
I know, I feel the same way. I just love it. And I love that you just talked about the starter sets too. I always say if someone can, do a starter set, it's so wonderful to get that deep discount and have extra product to drop off with a friend or to try and speak to your experience with it. Because I know that once you start trying a few products, you're going to love them all and think, oh my gosh, I wish I'd gotten that deeper discount. So if you can, that's a great option. And I'll add on, in the month of June, which we're in for just a few more days. If you're listening to this in the month of June, there's an amazing offer when you purchase $150 of product, getting the Counter Time carry-on set and sample packets as a free gift. So a wonderful way to get some extra things to take on your trips. I know Lauren and I were just talking about what are we doing for 4th of July. I know there's all kinds of travel this summer. So how great to get that travel set in your hands to take with you and to share with the people that you're going to be visiting with. And Lauren, what about you? Anything else you'd want to add about what this has looked like for you over the summer? And then I can wrap up with a few thoughts too.
Yeah, definitely. And I end all my classes and pass it with a passage. So I do have one that I picked out for you guys. So maybe I'll share that after I connect here on the summer. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we just had family visiting last weekend. My aunt has shopped a couple things, but she's sort of a minimalist. But don't you worry. I set up, a couple, the All Sea Serum and the peel and the cleanser, a few things in her bathroom to just try out for a few days, just to see if she, wanted to give them a go, see how her skin feels. And she love them. And she, purchased a couple extra goodies. And then my cousin she goes, Lauren, we're so close. She goes, I spend about $7 on skincare a year. Well, guess what? She loved the sunscreen stick for her 2 kids. She got the sunscreen stick. She got the Dew Skin Tint and Moisturizer. You just never know. So anyway, kind of like weaving it into what's already happening. Maybe you're traveling and, you're going to leave some products behind, maybe dropping them off at a neighbor or friends to try out for a couple of days. But I love the idea of just kind of taking Beautycounter with you this summer and just making it like super simple and already, again, integrating it into what you're doing. Doesn't have to be a whole big thing. It's totally whatever you make of it. Oh, and the passage.
Oh, Hannah, I'm going to let you in with that in just 1 second.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It'll be our wonderful capstone to this conversation. I love that, Lauren. And I love your enthusiasm and your joy and how simple you make this. And if anyone's listening in and thinking, well, gosh, maybe I could add this in, I'd like to know more. We have other videos available where we can talk through the compensation plan, where we can talk through all those things. One thing I will add is it's very clear when you're selling Beautycounter, you earn anywhere from 25 to 35% commission based on how much you sell within a month. So the more you sell, the more you earn. So if you want to earn, I would say if someone wants to earn $500, you just sell right around $1,500 in product, and then there's your $500. So we're really clear cut. If you have any specific goals or any specific ideas, I love working with Lauren, and we get together on our team. We have a special app, we have special wording, we have all kinds of ideas sharing times. So there's all kinds of things to support you throughout your journey with Beautycounter, whatever might align with who you are and what you love in this world. But I'm so glad we got to talk, and I want to pass it over to you so you can finish it out with this beautiful quote that I know you have.
Thank you, Whitney. Okay, so I read often by a man named Ralph Marston, and he writes the Daily Motivator. So it's titled Meaningful Impact. Let yourself be amazed at the reality that presents itself to you moment after moment. Allow yourself to be filled with awe at the countless possibilities that continually interact to give birth to even more. Be humbled and endlessly grateful that you'll always have something new to discover. Open yourself to the learning, the discovery, the experience, and to do the good work you can do with it all. Realize how pointless it is to get bogged down with the noisy trivialities that swirl around you. Understand the opportunity that's always yours to make a meaningful and positive impact on reality. Draw encouragement from considering how far you've come. Find inspiration in contemplating all the good things that have ever been done. Mix in a good measure of confidence and hope, along with some skill, energy, effort, and wisdom, then apply it all to the ever-expanding universe of possibilities in which you're immersed. Right now, you find yourself within an amazing reality. Here is your chance to offer your own meaningful impact to make it more amazing than ever before.
Oh, that is beautiful. Well, we can't top that. I think with those words, we'll wrap it up. But we would love to invite you into making Beautycounter a piece of the impact that you're making for the education, for the income, for the community, for the many things that it can be. And so, Lauren, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I feel like I just got a nice deep breath and lovely connection point, even though we're across the country. So thank you for sharing tonight.
Thank you, Whitney. And thank you everyone for joining and listening in. If you have any questions at all, just reach out to us. We're really grateful.